Hi folks, it's me Michaela and welcome back to my channel. I am very sorry to admit to you all that I am in fact a liar because I said I was not going to be making a 26 books in 2026 TBR list, but guys, I couldn't resist it. You know how much I love to make a list. And will I read these books? Some of them for sure. And I really feel like this year I have the best formula yet for making like my yearly TBR. The thing is, I just love to make a list. Even if I'm not going to follow through on the list, I just love making a list. I love collecting a little listicle of things I want to read. I love making a TBR. So I'm here to give you my 26 books in 2026. Now, what I decided to do this year, which I personally think is like pretty genius of me, is that I broke down the 26 into groups, like categories. So I have 5 new releases. I have 5 books that are the next book in a series I'm currently reading. I have 5 books that are the first books in series I want to start reading. Then I have 5 standalone books. Then I did 3 nonfiction books and then 3 wild cards. My best list yet, 100%. I think I did a great job. So let's talk about the books that I want to read in 2026. The 26 books specifically I want to read in 2026. So the first book that I put on this list is Everyone in This Bank is a Thief by Benjamin Stevenson. This is like book 4, kind of book 3, because the third book was like a Christmas special book that I think is kind of more like book 2.5 in the Ernest Cunningham series. I did read Everyone on This Train is a Suspect and then Everyone This Christmas Has a Secret in like the fall to end of year time of 2025, and his newest release is, I think it's coming out in March, which is this Everyone in This Bank is a Thief. Reading the next 2 books in that series just really made me remember how much I really love Benjamin Stevenson's writing style. It's very like dry, dark humor, sarcastic, it breaks the fourth wall a lot, and I'm really excited to keep going in the series. I also have been on a little bit of a mystery kick lately, which I'm excited about because I feel like I'm always like wanting to read mysteries, but then I tend to not be drawn to them all the time. Anyway, this one is a mystery, and I'm excited to read it once it releases in 2026. The second book on the list, this is not going to be a surprise to anybody. It is Carley Fortune's new release, Our Perfect Storm, that is going to be coming out in 2026. I am so excited for this book. I love Carley Fortune, probably my favorite author, and she's a Canadian author. We love it. She writes romance books that are based in settings in Canada. They're just like so atmospheric, and they're also so good. I find all of the characters are always like so real, and there's always like some other like plot going on than just like the romance between the main characters for you to follow. This Summer Will Be Different, which is her release, 2 years ago now, I guess, is like set in PEI. It has a wonderful female best friend storyline and the love of female best friends that's like kind of works in tandem with like the actual romance, and it was amazing. Fantastic. One Golden Summer, which was her release this year. There's a wonderful family dynamic relationship storyline that goes in tandem with the romance storyline. Like that's kind of how it is. It kind of like bridges like romance and fiction. Like it's definitely romance, but it has a bit more beef to it, but it's always like happy ending, even though it's not always like happy, quirky, cheesy, cute. And don't get me wrong, I also love a cheesy, cute romance, but you gotta have variety. You know, you have to have a little bit of everything. So I'm so excited for Carley Fortune's Our Perfect Storm. And also like the cover on this, as all of the other Carley Fortune books, gorgeous. The third book is Through Gates of Garnet and Gold by Seanan McGuire. This is book number 11 in the Wayward Children series. I believe this is coming out later this month. I believe all of the Wayward Children's books usually release in January each year as they come out. I love this series. It's a portal fantasy novella series, and like basically every book at 5 stars for me. I love this series. I will always be reading this series, and I'm very excited to read the newest book when it comes out. Number 4 is Heartstopper Volume 6 by Alice Oseman. This is, I believe, going to be like the finale to the Heartstopper series. I read all of Heartstopper in 2025, so I'm like up to date on it, and I'm excited to just like to finish the series out. And I think it's going to be just like a really nice read. I think it's going to be a great conclusion. I'm excited to see it. I assume there's probably going to be like a lot of hype around this release because Heartstopper is such a popular series, as it should be. I'm not necessarily like a graphic novel lover. I find it like difficult to connect to the medium the same way as with like written prose, but I did really enjoy reading the Heartstopper series, so I am also excited to read that in 2026. And then the final new release that I put on my list, number 5, is Caller Unknown by Gillian McAllister. This is the author who wrote Wrong Place, Wrong Time, which was one of my favorite books, if not my favorite book of 2024. I think it was 2024 that I read that. Maybe it was 2023. How long ago did I read Wrong Place, Wrong Time? Anyway, loved that book. And then I did read her other books. I read Just Another Missing Person and I liked it. Famous Last Words was like a tad disappointing for me this past year in 2025, but I still enjoyed the book. And so I'm excited to also just like pick up her newest release because I do enjoy her writing style. I think part of the reason why I didn't like Famous Last Words as much is because I just haven't read many like mystery thrillers in between my Gillian McAllister mystery thrillers. So it felt like too similar to Just Another Missing Person and Wrong Place, Wrong Time. When in reality, I think it's kind of like on me to like not have been reading a variety inside that genre, and therefore like if all of the books I'm reading are Gillian McAllister, like I can't get mad at Gillian McAllister for writing like Gillian McAllister. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't make any sense. My plan is to try and like read some more like mystery thrillers in 2026, and then I also plan on Caller Unknown to be one of them. Moving on to books that are like the next in a series I'm currently reading. The first one I have is Hopeless by Elsie Silver. This is the 5th and final book in Chestnut Springs. If you've been like watching my channel for a while, you'll know that I started Chestnut Springs, read the first 3 books, then went back, read all of Gold Rush Ranch, came back to rereading Chestnut Springs in 2025, and then I read Reckless in the fall, so now I finally am on the last book, which means after this I can finally pick up the new, which is not that new, Elsie Silver series, because I have like a personal rule for myself that I'm not allowed to read multiple series by the same author at the same time, or else like my life will truly spiral out of control. So I'm so excited for this. I love Chestnut Springs. I love Elsie Silver, another amazing Canadian author that I want to support and I love to support. Number 7 on my 26 books in 2026, okay, we have The Last Devil to Die by Richard Osman. I got this as a Christmas gift from my parents this year. My mother went around to like every bookstore she could find looking for the old cover paperback so that she could give it to me, because she saw my video where I was complaining about how they changed the covers, and like not even a good way and not even in a drastic way, and it made me so mad. And she found me an old cover copy of The Last Devil to Die, and it's just like, you know, it's like I feel seen and I feel loved. This is the 4th book in the Thursday Murder Club series by Richard Osman, which I adore. There is just something about these old people solving crime that I just cannot get enough of. I love them, and it's just like such like a refreshing thing to read from like an older character POV, because I feel like I do tend to read a lot of young adult characters, which makes sense because like that's who I am, you know, like I'm in my 20s, so like reading and gravitating towards books that have characters that are in like their 20s makes sense, because it's like obviously I'm going to be able to relate to that more. But it is also just really nice to read from like a different perspective. And the Thursday Murder Club, again, like dry sarcastic humor, funny, but still like a good mystery to try and solve. So I'm also like so excited to read that. So then number 8 on my list is, oh my god, this is a chonker. Okay. Brimstone by Callie Hart. This is the 2nd Quicksilver book. I am currently doing a reread of Quicksilver, and then once I am done that, my plan is to read Brimstone. This is a chunky book. Like, this is heavy. This is dense. I feel like I haven't heard like the most amazing reviews of Brimstone, but I also wonder if perhaps I have different expectations for this book than some other people did going into it. Like when I read Quicksilver, I didn't go into it like I wasn't like expecting like a super detailed, in-depth, logical fantasy plot. Like I was going in for fun romance in a fantasy world, you know? So I kind of like enjoy a bit of chaos in this style book. It's kind of like how I feel about ACOTAR. What I'm wanting from it is to be entertained. okay? And I have hopes that this is going to entertain me because like Quicksilver really entertained me the first time I read it. I'm not really that far into it right now in my reread to judge whether it is still entertaining me or not. Stay tuned for my thoughts on that reread, I guess. But I do want to read Brimstone in 2026. I then have as number 9 on my list In the Weeds by BK Borison. This is the second book in the Lovelight series, and I read Lovelight Farms like the Christmas before last Christmas. It was in 2024. And that's the first book in the series, and it's like Christmas themed, but the rest of the books in the series are not Christmas, I don't think. So I do want to continue on in that series, mostly because I've just been itching to read the new BK Borison like First Time Caller and whatever the second book in that series is now. I don't remember. But like I said before, I can only be reading one series by the same author at one time, right? So I need to finish Lovelight so I can start First Time Caller. And the first step to that process is reading the second book, In the Weeds. So that's why it's on the list. And then the 5th book for next in series, also known as the 10th book on my 26 books in 2026, is An Unexpected Peril by Deanna Raybourn. This is the 6th Veronica Speedwell book. I feel like I put a Veronica Speedwell book on my TBR every year. And it's just because like it's just a good, solid, historical, cozy mystery. And like when I'm wanting like a good book, I know it's going to deliver that. Like it's reliable and I enjoy that. Though I also like for most of 2025, like I said, I wasn't really reading mysteries that much in 2025 and I am now suddenly back on a mystery kick. So I am feeling the desire to read more mysteries again. And this is one of those series that like, you know, I do believe that eventually one day in the perhaps not so far future, I will have read all of the Veronica Speedwell books. This year is probably not going to be that year, but I do plan on making progress in the series once again. So I then have 5 books that are the first book in a series I want to start in 2026. The first one is actually Red Rising by Pierce Brown. This is the first book in Red Rising. I have been wanting to read this for like ages, but I've kind of like shied away from it because it is, I believe, more science fiction than fantasy, and I haven't really been much of a sci-fi girl, but I do like to push myself outside of my comfort zones when I'm making my yearly TBRs, and I thought that putting Red Rising on my TBR would be like a great reason to do that. And my friend Melina got me Red Rising as a little birthday gift this year, so now I really have no excuse to not read it. So thank you for that. I will be reading it. It will happen in 2026. I just gotta finish some other series first. Like, I got too many. I always have too many of those. Okay, so number 12 on the list is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Faeries by Heather Fawcett, another Canadian author representing. This is, again, another like cozy fantasy series, I think. I've heard really good things about it. I think there's now like 3 books in this series, so yet again, I'm way far behind. I've been like in the bookstore and passing it like every time I'm in the bookstore and I'm like, oh, I want to read that. Oh, I want to read that. So I put it on the list. So now I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it because I put it on the list. I have no choice now. It's written down in not paper. So I will be reading it. Maybe. I don't tend to succeed at these lists too well. Number 13, I put The Will of the Many by James Islington. This is the first book in the Hierarchy series, and I've heard really good things about this as well. There's now 2 books in this because I think the second book is like The Strength of the Few. Maybe it's The Something of the Few because this is The Will of the Many. So then there's The Something of the Few, and that's the second book. So I've heard really good things about this. It's a fantasy book. I do like fantasy. I kind of feel like I need a new kind of like big fantasy book to read after finally finishing all of the Mistborn books. And I am not yet ready for Stormlight Archive. Like, I just don't think I'm mentally prepared for that yet. So I think this will hopefully fill my like Mistborn fantasy gap in my reading at the moment. I then put Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. This is the first book in like Part of Your World, I guess. It's like a usual like romance series where I think it's like the characters know each other, but it's not really a series. It's like interconnected standalones are kind of more how romance series go. I have been meaning to like pick up an Abby Jimenez book for literal years, and I have not. So I decided, again, like if I put it on the list, more likely to happen. And that is the state of my reading at the moment. It's like, maybe if I write it down, I'll finally do the things I say. And then the 5th series that I wrote down as wanting to start this year is like really outside the box for me. I decided to go diving into a genre that I do not read much of, and it is science fiction, and I decided to put All Systems Red by Martha Wells on my 26 books in 2026 list. This is the first in the Murderbot Diaries series, and although I don't read a lot of science fiction, I have seen the Murderbot series around a bit, and it does sound a little interesting, so I thought, maybe I'll give it a go in 2026 and like try out some more sci-fi. I did read The Martian by Andy Weir last year, and that was like my first contemporary sci-fi book that I read like ever, and I did actually like kind of enjoy it. There was like parts of it that I didn't absolutely love, but overall I gave it a good rating, and it kind of made me feel like maybe I should try out a bit more sci-fi, because who knows, maybe I'll like it, maybe I'll become a sci-fi girl. I should not like just be against sci-fi because I just think I'm not gonna like it, so I'm gonna give it a go. I'm gonna give some more sci-fi a go. Okay, I have 2 sci-fi books on my TBR this year. Amazing. Who am I? So I then put 5 standalone books. Great, love it. The first one, number 16 on this list, is The Favorites by Layne Fargo. Can I stop spinning? The Favorites by Layne Fargo. This I was hearing so much about last year, and I've been meaning to read it. I was meaning to pick it up. I never did. And so I was making this list, and this was like the first standalone book that I thought of that I was like, oh, I need to read that this year because I really think it's going to be up my alley. So it's on the list. I then have Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This was a new release this past year, 2025, and I got it pre-ordered, and I just still haven't read it. And it's mainly because I do want to read Carrie Soto's back before I read Atmosphere, because I had kind of just been reading Taylor Jenkins Reid books in order because they like are kind of all in the same universe. So there's like sometimes there's like Easter eggs because of like the Easter egg scenario that kind of drops in because like they're all in this historical fictional universe world that Taylor Jenkins Reid has created. I do kind of want to read them in order. So I haven't read Atmosphere yet because I haven't read Carrie Soto's back. So I put Atmosphere on this list because I own the book and I want to read it. But it's kind of like putting 2 books on my list because I want to read Carrie Soto's back before I read Atmosphere. So maybe I should have put Carrie Soto's back on this list, but I didn't. I put Atmosphere on this list, so there I go, creating my own problems. Then number 17 on my list is Among Friends by Hal Ebbott. This is a book that I was just like went to the bookstore one day and I was browsing and then I saw it and then I just impulse bought a book. I don't normally do that. I do not normally impulse buy books, but it drew me in. I haven't like read the synopsis of this in ages, but I think it's kind of a fictional story about like messy rich people, and that sounded really up my alley. And I remembered it was on my shelf, and I was like, I should put this on a list so I don't forget that it's on my shelf, So I did that. I did exactly that. It's this really cute little hardback. I kind of like love the mini hardback. Like it's so cute. Oh, it's so cute. It's so little. And I'm kind of like excited to pick this up when I'm finally reading it. What? That sentence didn't make any sense. I think like I'm really gonna like it once I actually pick it up to read it, but I think I'll probably end up reading this more in like the spring summertime just because like I tend to read genres like seasonally, and the summer tends to be my biggest time for reading like just like general fiction, literary fiction books. I don't tend to read a lot of just like standard fiction in the winter. I think it's just like, like my reality of living in Canada in the winter is like already so bad that I'm like, please give me some escapism. I cannot read just the standard world. Give me fantasy, give me romance, give me mystery, give me fun. Not that like general fiction isn't fun, but I think like in the winter, like I don't want to be having big brain thoughts necessarily like in the depths of February. Okay? I don't think my brain could handle that. Number 19 on the list is Mona's Eye by Thomas Schlesser. Oh my god, Thomas Schlesser. My mouth. Okay, that's a lot of letters. But I can't really remember where I saw this book first, but I read the synopsis for it and it sounded like an emotional good read. It's about like there's a girl who lost her vision. Then she like gets it back, but for whatever reason, she's only going to have it for like a year. Like she's going to go blind again in a year. And so her grandfather takes her to all of these museums all around the world so she can see all of these wonderful art pieces before she loses her vision again. And that just like really intrigued me. And I was like, that sounds like a book that's going to make me cry. And for some reason, that was something where I was like, yeah, I got to read it now. I want to cry. So it's on the list. So number 20 on the list is Jane and Dan at the End of the World by Colleen Oakley. This is another one where I was just like browsing the bookstore and I came across it, and I didn't pick it up that day because it was only available in hardcover, and I was like, I don't want to risk hardcover money on a book that I'm not sure about, you know? But it does sound kind of fun. It's like Jane and Dan are going on like an anniversary date, and then like it's like there's some like threat or something. I don't remember exactly what happens, but it sounded like it had like a very like insane synopsis, and it kind of sounded like it was going to be a funny book, so I put it on the list because, you know, like, why not? It was another one where it's like, if I don't write this on a list, I might forget about it existing, and I did want to read it, so it's on the list. I then put 3 nonfiction books on the list, and it's actually 3 memoirs. Memoirs have been growing on me. I read some in 2025, I read a couple in 2024, I read a few more in 2025, and so I'm deciding I'm going to put 3 on my list for 2026, because I do think I need to read more nonfiction. I think it's important to read more broadly and to read more than just fiction books. But I also will not be reading a self-help book, okay? You will not catch me reading a self-help book. No, thank you. Okay? But I will read some memoirs. Number 21 on my list, the first of 3 memoirs, is Know My Name by Chanel Miller. This has been a memoir that I have been meaning to read and wanting to read for, again, years, and is a very popular memoir. I do plan to read that. All 3 of these are like very uber popular memoirs. If it feels weird to like call a memoir popular, are very well known memoirs. And so number 22 on my list is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. Again, saw it, meant to read it, haven't read it, put it on the list to make myself read it, you know? One of those kind of things. And then number 23, which I believe this won the Goodreads Choice Award for memoirs in 2025, which is The House of My Mother by Sherry Frankie. So I also was intrigued by that and thought maybe I should give it a try. So those are the 3 memoirs that I put on my list. And then the last 3 books that I put on my list are kind of wild cards. The first one is I decided to think of a genre that I do not read from or have not read from, and I went horror. I don't read any horror. And so I was looking at what could potentially be a horror book that I might like, that might intrigue me, and I landed on My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. This is like a pretty old Grady Hendrix, I believe, but I think that it's like a pretty popular one. I feel like I've heard good reviews about it, and it sounded like maybe I should give it a try, is what I thought. Will I potentially hate it? Yes. Will I potentially DNF it as my first DNF ever? Yes, it's a possibility. But again, I haven't read any horror, so how do I know if I'm not gonna like it? Even though I feel like I know myself pretty well and I don't think I'm gonna like horror, I should give it a try before I write it off. So that's what I'm gonna do. So for the last 2 books, I decided to ask for recommendations. So I went to my friend Melina and I was like, what is a book that I have to read? What is one that I have to read in 2026? And she said I should read The Future Saints by Ashley Winstead. This, I believe, is also a new release coming out in 2026, and from what I can tell, it's very like toxic characters, very Taylor Jenkins Reid, Daisy Jones and the Six kind of vibes, which I do love. So it sounds like it might be something for me, so I have put that on my 26 books in 2026. And then for the final book in my 26 books in 2026, I went to my mother, because my mother reads almost no crossover with my reading. We barely read any of the same books. And so I went to my mother and I said, tell me a book that I have to read this year. And she said that I should read The Extraordinary Life of Sam Hell by Robert Dugoni. So I'm going to be reading The Extraordinary Life of Sam Hell by Robert Dugoni. I have no idea what this book is about, but because I love to go into books blind, I will not be finding out what this book is about until I read it. So there we go. That's my 26 books in 2026. I did look through the genres I have on my list, and in case you're curious, I do have 5 romance books, 4 fantasy books, 7 fiction books, 4 mystery books, 2 sci-fi books, 3 nonfictions, and 1 horror, for a total of 26 books in 2026. So that's all I have for you today. I do hope you enjoyed. I would love to know what you guys are planning to read in 2026. Do you make yearly TBRs? Do you do like the 25 and 2025, 26 and 2026 style, or just 10 books you want to read this year, or whatever it is? Do you have a strategy on how do you make your yearly TBRs? Because I think my strategy this year might be a winning strategy. I think I might have a winning strategy. We're gonna find out though. That is it for today. If you liked the video, make sure to give it a like, give it a little thumbs up. If you haven't liked me, consider subscribing. I'd be happy to have you. And with that, I hope you're having a wonderful day today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.